sorry if I didn't catch you as soon as you got in here or whatever. But I'm gonna do some reactions right now. Yeah, this is probably, yeah. So the final game announcement. This is gonna be going over Highguard. I personally am pretty hyped for Highguard. It gave me like a feeling of like Apex, but like horseback, or like, you know, you're riding on like mounts. But let's just go ahead and see what this guy has to say. I'll be reacting to it. I'm probably not going to be able to argue away what this guy says. A lot of people
But
just are.
how you finish, that really counts.
But let's just go.
The adage goes that it's not how you start, but how you finish that really counts. And that really applies to Game Awards 2025, because when you look at the...
Personally, I think they finished strong with Highguard. Maybe there was something else. Maybe one of the other games that they had in there probably could have taken its place. I was really excited to see Highguard. That game looks awesome. I'm definitely going to be playing it. So
whole slate of announcements at Game Awards 2025, they actually showed a lot.
I think I would have flipped end over end for if it was that Star Wars Racer game.
Cool stuff. But the finale, the final big showstopper, right? The one last thing was such a letdown to so many people that it in many ways like soiled the...
Actually, hang on. I got something I gotta take care of real quick. There's a... Oop, I don't know why I was taking my vest off. I'll be right back. Just give me 1 second. Something I just gotta unplug over in the corner of my room. All right. You know what? Give me 1 more second. I'm coming back, I promise. I swear. Okay, I'm back. The way I, ooh, that is dead. Never mind. I was gonna use my tablet to check to keep my chat up. Well, let's see. Okay. All right, so let's get back into it. Sorry about that, viewer. I was just, I just had to go and unplug something. And, you know what? Yeah, give me 1 more second. I'm gonna go and grab a charger real quick. I'm gonna try and get that. Fuck it. Fuck it. Let's just get back to the content. I think, is this thing still tracking me? I hope it is. I had a viewer the other night told me that it focuses on my monkey bomb while I'm away.
Overall optics surrounding Game Awards 2025.
I was gonna stop the camera from doing that, where it does like the tracking thing for me, but I really enjoyed it. I like going back over when I was watching the stream and just having it like while I'm away, it just goes right into the monkey bomb and it like zooms really hard on it. I love that.
And look, that doesn't discount all of the other reveals. It doesn't discount the award winners, but I think that if they had just changed the order of some things and paced the show a certain way, it would have gone down much better. And I'll get to the cooler announcements in a bit, but right now I want to talk about the reveal of Highguard. And I think this is something that many of you may be aware of right now. So right here we have the world premiere of the game, and you can see from the likes to dislikes ratio how poorly this is being received. And this is the Game Awards upload, but even just the trailer on its own on, you know, like IGN and whatever, the likes to dislikes ratio is extremely negative. So Highguard is a game that's being developed by developers who work...
Maybe I'm an idiot. And I'm gonna be like one of the few people that enjoys this game. I'm kind of, you know, I like everything. I don't engage too much with kind of what the pulse of with what everybody else is into. And I find myself a lot of times though following that crowd. But now that I'm in a position where I'm reacting to those things more, I'm finding out a lot more that I like more things. I like more things than other people do like, and I'll be invested into things. I said it on my stream when I was watching the Game Awards that I honestly thought Clair Obscura was going to be a nothing game. I thought it was going to be something that was just forgotten about so easily, and it wound up being Game of the Year. So, you know, That's probably mostly on me.
Worked
But
on Titanfall as well as Apex Legends. And that certainly has its appeal, but then the game that they showcased with the trailer that concluded the Game Awards was a game that many people are calling, just for lack of better words, generic. It is essentially yet another hero shooter. And while there are some cool aspects of the game,
there's nothing bad with being generic either. Doing what other people have done before, and as long as you do it really well, I think is actually like probably the best. The one of the better things is just making sure the gameplay works and is fun. The mount aspect of this game,
ultimately,
with the shooting, with the other things involved, like the powers and things like that, I think this could actually be a really good time. But it seems like a lot of other people, most everybody else, has just already written this game
this
off.
just looks like any other hero shooter, and that was the last thing that people expected the Game Awards to close with. Something that really wasn't like mind-blowing, or one of the big reveals that people
I think that's
have been really hyped about. Those actually came a lot earlier than expected, and it was just a matter of reordering some things. So poorly is Highguard's announcement being received that people are basically saying that the Game Awards concluded by basically announcing Concord 2. Nothing that really alleviates the fatigue that people have towards these kinds of live services. I mean, even the name Highguard evokes Overwatch. The word high and over are kind of in line, and then the word watch and guard are also aligned, so
I didn't think about that. High equals over, guard equals watch. Yeah, so that makes sense. I can see where people are not too fond of that, but it says it right there. Apex Legends and Titanfall, both really great games. You can say what you want about what Apex turned into over time. Titanfall 2 are awesome. I actually got to go back. I'm going to go back and play Titanfall 2 now that I have it again, and I'm going to go nuts. But this game actually looks
like
awesome.
A play on words on Overwatch, almost like if you call Metal Gear Iron Cog or something. And the way Jeff Keighley set this up as a major announcement also didn't help matters. So here's the segment in question. And you can see right here from the way it opens, it makes it feel like this is going to be a massive reveal, like incredibly hyped. I mean, looking at this,
I was honestly
people were speculating Elder Scrolls 6. It looks kind of similar to that teaser from many years ago. It was like that level of expectation.
Our last reveal at the Game Awards is a teaser for something years and years away. Not tonight. Our final world premiere comes from 61 members of the team that
they're announcing a game that's like 45 days away or something like that. This is going to be awesome.
The principals founded a new independent studio with the hopes of pushing the shooter genre forward with a new original game. They've done it in complete secrecy.
Hopefully it just doesn't go by the way of like Frag Punk and Mecha Break and just be dead on arrival.
The power of independent self-published studios to push this medium forward is a growing and I think positive theme in our industry. And so tonight, you're not only going to get the announcement of the game, but also your first look at the gameplay. I've played it, and after you see this trailer, I think you're going to want to as well. Welcome to Highguard.
So you can see Jeff Keighley's really hyping this up, calling it like a new, unique game. But it's not particularly unique. It is a new game, but it tackles a genre that...
Like, the guns are neat. The riding mounts playing, then that,
It has worn out its welcome, if you will. And look, the gameplay looks really smooth. You can tell that the respawn DNA is very well here in many ways.
Yeah.
When you look at how the game plays and the mobility, how smooth that all looks, and the shooting and everything.
So this is the thing that I don't understand is why we're saying the game looks really smooth. The game looks like it runs really well. It has the Apex, the Titanfall DNA in it. He's saying all the things that it's like, okay, well then this is their next game. Like, why does that not evoke confidence from anybody? I understand like some of the visuals and stuff.
And I'd say it looks better than Concord, but it's
yeah, it looks light years better than Concord. This looks sweet. This actually looks really cool.
It just doesn't.
I was so hyped
push the boundaries in any way, really. And so I believe that had this game been announced in the middle of the Game Awards?
It should have been announced in the middle of the Game Awards. There's an easy argument can be made that it should have been done in the middle of the awards, and people wouldn't have been maybe what's the word? Is it jilted? They wouldn't have felt jaded or whatever, that like you were thinking that we were getting. I think the other thing is like people's expectations. We were going to get Half-Life 3. We were going to get an announcement for Elden Ring 2. We were going to get, an update on the new Elder Scrolls game. Just all that stuff. Fallout New Vegas 2, a lot of people were hoping for. I think that a lot of people put their expectations really high, which it's fair to do because this is basically, we don't have E3 anymore. This is the only thing that we really have that like is going to showcase the future of gaming with everyone's eyes on it, and this is like the big show, maybe other than like the Xbox Summer Showcase and those other things like that they do. But this is like the big one where every company's showing up and trying to like put their best foot forward. And I honestly believe that
had it not been
also an indie developer getting their game put at the end, that has to at least come from with some merit. If Jeff Keighley played it, and there's got to be some merit behind this game,
and been made to be
this is actually probably going to be really fun.
The big finale, right? That one last thing. Maybe people would have been more tolerant or open-minded to it.
Yeah, see, he just said it. He said the same thing I said. People would have been more tolerant and open-minded to the game if it was in the middle of the award show.
But the way this was presented did not help its optics and its
Everybody
marketing.
wanted Half-Life 3.
Making this the one last thing of Game Awards 2025 ultimately ended up hurting the marketing of this game more than helping it. And yeah, I mean, it's got like Overwatch vibes. It really does. Like some of these powers and ultimates. You can see right here, it takes a lot of inspiration from.
That
you can see right here,
it
takes a lot of inspiration.
The reload animation, but then when I saw this guy with the way his armor was,
you can see right here, it takes a lot of inspiration.
The way this guy looks and the way he shoots his gun right here, it just kind of, that made me a little like, this was the only visual from the entire trailer that I did not like enjoy 100% seeing. But everything else from it, I adored.
Past hero shooters.
I am a warden, and this is my own.
There was something that Asmongold was reacting to, that guy's haircut, and then him being like, "Oh, it's Concord 2 or whatever." I think they're just trying to, like, it's fantasy and sci-fi.
There it is. It's a free-to-play hero shooter coming out on January 26, 2026.
Like that. I think a lot of times.
And what's wild to me is that they
going for that sort of that sort of criticism, criticizing it through that way, I think is hit the wrong button. Trying to make sure that I got everything available, because I set something else up on my stream, and I'm worried that I might have messed it up. That stream elements or whatever, and I'm worried that I might have messed my stuff up doing that, because I want to keep my chat and everything open. I'm sure my one viewer that's watching right now, or two viewers it looks like, I'm sure that you guys engage in the chat, but the thing I'm always worried about is that I might have messed something up. But one of the other things being, if you want to chat in here, chat away. The one thing that I have to say is there are no rules to what you say about me, what you're seeing on screen and anything like that. The only thing I don't know how to set up the rules and shit like that on chat. But the one thing is just don't be like completely venomous towards the other chatters that are in there. And I'll try to like reiterate that every time I stream and things like that. Say whatever the fuck you want to me or about me. It won't kill me. I appreciate that sort of stuff, because if I'm doing something wrong, I can correct it, and for people to be, I believe that people being free to say things however, in any way, as harsh as it's going to be, there's a message they're trying to get across to a person. So feel free to say whatever, anything. I'm almost certain that I had removed all of those blocks of like, you can't, like blurring out and blocking things in chat. You guys say whatever you want. Don't do anything to get yourself banned though, and try please not to just be so like hyper venomous to other chatters.
Announced some pretty major things like a new Divinity game, which is what that statue tease was all about, as well as, I mean,
that's what should have been the final one, was the Divinity. Like, we could figure out what that statue was about. Divinity being announced like midway through, and then it being like, yeah, that's what the statue was about. Like they built up that statue thing, that statue leak, all the way up until, and then just were like, yep, here's the statue, boom, and like, this is what the statue was about. Here, blah 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 blah. That was terrible. There was actually an issue
Star Wars
with the pacing.
Fate of the Old Republic.
I fucking hated seeing that. They didn't. They need to tell me ahead of time when a Star Wars game is going to be a Star Wars game. Otherwise, when I'm getting surprised, because when I get excited for a new sci-fi game, I want it to be a new sci-fi game that I've never experienced before. And Star Wars has no need to hide the fact that it's a Star Wars game ahead of time. Doing those surprise reveals is so dumb.
Being led by Casey Hudson, I think if they would have placed that as the big finale, or Divinity as the big finale, I think Star Wars is even better, because that wasn't even something they had teased, right? That was kept in complete secret. Nobody knew about this. And so had they kept Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic for the finale, I think the narrative would have gone down so much more differently. I think placing Highguard as the big finale was the biggest mistake that the Game Awards made, both for the optics of the Game Awards and how, it's not how you start but how you finish that leaves the biggest impression, but also for the developers who are kind of being lambasted for making this the big showstopper, and then for showing a game that ultimately, for being the big final showstopper, the big, one last thing, doesn't show anything that is particularly compelling, that is particularly boundary pushing. It just looks like yet another one of those games we've already seen and played before. I mean, who knows? Maybe there are some unique features to Highguard that will set it apart from the other games of this genre.
First-person mount-based combat is all I gotta say.
But the trailer certainly didn't do a phenomenal job at showing that, if that is the case. And the thing is, when you compare the reveal of Highguard compared to past Game Awards One Last Thing, yeah, I mean, Highguard just doesn't hold that level of prestige. So last year at the Game Awards 2024, they closed the show with Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, the new game from Naughty Dog.
This game got a ton of fucking hate, way worse than Highguard was getting. So there's something to be said about that.
And while I know discussion surrounding Last of Us Part 2 still looms over, the fact remains that Naughty Dog is an incredibly celebrated studio, and any new game from them is going to draw a lot of attention, especially when it's something like this, which is this sci-fi game inspired by like anime such as Akira and Cowboy Bebop and the like. So, it was a worthy trailer and a worthy reveal to close the show. Then in Game Awards 2023, they closed with Monster Hunter Wilds, which, Monster Hunter being such a big IP now and a new entry in the Monster Hunter series,
that one's actually worthwhile.
Being such a hyped announcement, this was a worthy way to close out the show. And then we've got Game Awards 2022, which closed with FromSoft coming on stage to announce Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon, which was highly anticipated due to the fact that the Armored Core series had been dormant for so long.
So it just seems like it's decreasing.
FromSoft announcing this was really a huge and monumental.
It just seems like, so from what he's showing, it just seems like the hype is kind of decreasing. But I think Highguard,
those are the kinds of finales that are expected at the Game Awards, and there were so many other announcements that...
It's good that it's free to play as well. It's good that it's free to play right after Christmas, because no one's going to have money after the holidays, and having a free to play game, and then maybe if you have $5, $10 or whatever, for the people that do have money to go and spend on like cosmetics and all that other bullshit, I think that this will actually be really good. It'll be really good for them. They'll get a lot of eyes on a lot of players. I'm going to be fucking playing this game when it comes out.
Happened in the middle of the Game Awards that would have better served that finale, like Divinity, like Star Wars, or, hell, the confirmation that Leon Kennedy is returning for Resident Evil 9 and that gameplay footage would have been a better closer than Highguard.
from what I was told, from what I've been hearing, is that the Leon and I think her name's Claire, the other girl that you're playing as. So it's like so the Leon has the action and that girl has the survival horror part. Is that it's switching back and forth. I think that'll fuck up that game so bad. It's gonna mess the pacing up. It'd be stopping from doing the survival horror stuff and going back to the action, and it's gonna have different elements. If I'm wrong, if whoever told me that is wrong, and it's all you choose which campaign you want to do, and you're doing the survival horror version first, or you're doing the action version first, whichever one you want to take on first, and then do the other one afterwards or whatever, or you can stop maybe in the middle of it because maybe you're just you're getting kind of burnt out on the action stuff. You want to go over to let it be people's choice to play those to how they want to do that, or just don't do this like, oh, after you're done with this chapter or this element you switch them back over, because that is going to fucking kill the pacing of that game entirely, because survival horror Resident Evil and action horror Resident Evil are two entirely different things. So we'll just keep going.
It's just weird how they front loaded so much of the most hyped announcements and then closed off with, essentially what people are considering to be Concord 2. And yeah, I mean, folks online already commenting. You got Tom Moran, senior editor at The Verge, highlighting what I think many people are echoing in terms of sentiment, saying, I hope there's something unique about it. Otherwise, it's another free-to-play shooter that will struggle to survive. And I do agree with this. And then tweets like these are going viral. Jeff hypes up the final game reveal. It's literally Concord 2. Second time's the charm. People going as far as tweeting things like, and for our last world premiere, straight shit from an ass. I don't know if I'd go that far. I don't think the game's going to be bad. Again, like the gameplay does look really solid, just smooth and crisp. And like it has the potential to be fun. It's just, man, why did that have to be the big final reveal for the Game Awards? Why did that have to be the thing that closed out the Game Awards? It reminds me of...
So this guy's actually being really reasonable, saying that, it looks like it has a lot of potential. Yeah, I'm more hype on it than he is, but he's saying it looks like it has a lot of potential. It just, this wasn't the game to have at the end, of the show. I think, I think he's honestly, I'll say that he's changing my mind
like
on this.
That one BlizzCon when they thought that closing the show with Diablo Immortal would be a good idea, when that was the flagship announcement, a mobile Diablo game. It just felt like a very tone-deaf way to announce this game. But overall, again, when you look at the full slate of announcements, there was actually a lot of cool stuff. The new Divinity trailer looked sick. It was all CGI. There was no gameplay. But, with it being Larian...
Was I the only person that was pissed that this was a Divinity game and it wasn't Baldur's Gate 4, Elden Ring 2, just something along those lines of like, we're getting more of something that we've already been in and that we're not going to have to kind of be reintroduced to. I get that, like, they made Divinity, it was Original Sin 2, I think, apparently a really good fucking game, but
and them having garnered a certain level of goodwill. They're like one of the few who can kind of get away with this. Then you've got Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic, KOTOR spiritual successor, also strictly a CGI trailer, but the very existence of this game is monumental. And Casey Hudson directing.
The moment I saw that lightsaber light up, because I was like, bro, this is not good. This is giving me like fucking Star Wars vibes. And then that lightsaber lit up, and I was just like, "Motherfucker!"
This,
I couldn't stand the fact that
and
we were
the guy who directed the original KOTOR.
It's
actually a pretty big deal, and keeping our fingers crossed that turns out okay. Leon Kennedy for Resident Evil 9. It's something that was kind of already leaked, but getting that confirmation and seeing how good the gameplay looks was really, really great. Then we got Tomb Raider, which is getting both a remake and reimagining of the very first game that's coming out in 2026. And then you've got Tomb Raider Catalyst, which is a full-fledged sequel coming out in 2027. Control Resident got announced, and it looks insane. Visuals look trippy as all hell. And Remedy are, just clearly pulling all stops for that one. I'm pretty excited about that one as well. Mega Man made a comeback with a dual override, and not even Mega Man X, like OG Mega Man. And the visuals already for that are looking really, really good. I'm liking the art style that they're pushing with that. Star Wars got another announcement in the form of Galactic Racer. They're bringing back pod racing, and it's being made by developers who worked on Burnout and Need for Speed. It's coming out in 2026. I'm pretty hyped for that one, I'll be honest with you. You know, I have fond memories of the N64 pod racing game. You've got the Total War series finally announcing a Warhammer 40K version of Pod 26. I'm pretty hyped for that one.
This was one of the games that I was probably more hyped for than anything else, because Star Wars Racer is probably one of my all-time favorite games. Let me see. I don't have one of my favorite pens up here, but I do have something, and something is better than nothing. You know what? Excuse me, y'all. Hold on. Make sure I get that back going. The little head motion, the head tracker, or whatever the fuck that is. All right, give me 1 second. I just gotta go grab a nicer pen. Oh shit. Don't tell me I lost my pens. Son of a biscuit. I'm coming back, I promise, I swear. Damn it, man. Oh well. Alright, I'm just gonna use one of these crappy ones I stole from my old job. And then I'm gonna find out that I screwed it up. I'm gonna write some things down real quick. Bringing out the clipboard. I'm auditing some things. No, I'm kidding. I'm just holy Lord. That was out of nowhere. Man, I gotta find my pens wherever the hell those all went off to. But all right, let's get back into this. Oh, actually, you know what? Give me one moment. I'm gonna write some things down. Just some of the games that I remember being revealed that actually had me really hype. You're not gonna be able to read this, actually.
I'll be honest with you. You know, I have fond memories of the N64 pod racing game. You've got the Total War series finally announcing a Warhammer 40K version of this game, which is something that people have been clamoring for. That was pretty hype.
I didn't have a list
Gang
of
of Dragon, which is Negoshi's take on Yakuza, essentially. You know, he left Sega and started his own studio. And this is essentially him saying, I'm going to make a Yakuza game that is legally distinct from Yakuza, but that is within my own.
I thought this was, okay. So I thought this was actually part of that Yakuza series. That guy, he's actually
Vision.
I think that actor
starring none
is
other than Ma Dong-seok, who's an absolute badass, and I'm very curious to see how that turns out. I hope it turns out really good. Though I will say that seeing some of the screenshots from Steam, you know, this is what gameplay looks like. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's so early in development, but there's something about this that makes me a little more cautiously optimistic about Gang of Dragon, but I genuinely want this game to do well. Just the gameplay screenshots right now are not looking particularly confidence-inspiring for me personally. But still, a very interesting announcement that we'll have to wait and see how it all turns out. And then you've got, you know, No Law was announced, which is this, like, Dying Light meets Cyberpunk style of game made by the developers of Ascent, the top-down shooter. You've got Ace Combat 8 getting a new trailer and announcement. Lords of the Fallen 2 getting this gameplay trailer that looks really cool. There's the Kraken game made by the developers of...
Yeah, Ace Combat 8, I'm actually really excited for. So yeah, I'll be putting up a list of my like.
You've got Ace Combat 8 getting a new trailer and announcement.
This game
Lords of the Fallen 2 getting this gameplay trailer that looks really cool.
That should have.
There's the
Lords of the Fallen 2 should have actually gotten
getting a new trailer and announcement. Lords of the Fallen
2, with how awesome this trailer looked and everything, this should have actually gotten the final,
trailer that looks really cool.
Trailer.
There's Decrepit, which is this first-person Souls-like, essentially. It's like Elder Scrolls meets Dark Souls coming out in 2026, which looks pretty hype. Phantom Blade Zero finally got a...
It's like Kingsfield. Decrepit is like Kingsfield.
Really cool. There's Decrepit.
So it's like Kingsfield, it's like Skyrim, it's like those, the first person action RPG games. If FromSoft made another Kingsfield, which from what I'm told is never going to happen, if they were to make another Kingsfield game, that'd be awesome. I would love if they had like remade the Ancient City or Shadow Tower Abyss.
Which is this first-person Souls-like, essentially. It's like Elder Scrolls meets Dark Souls.
That's probably one of my favorite
coming out in
games
2026, which looks pretty hype. Phantom Blade Zero finally got a release date of September 9th, 2026, and I'm super hyped for that game. Pragmata got a release date of April 24th, 2026. So, when you look at the full slate of announcements, again, they actually showed off some really hype stuff. But you got to pace those out so that people don't burn out by the end of like a 3-hour show. And that's kind of what happened with the Game Awards, and people were really waiting to see like what that big final reveal would be to revitalize some of the diminishing interest in terms of the announcements. And instead of saving the best for last, Jeff Keighley took this risk by announcing Highguard and making that the big final reveal, and it ultimately ended up backfiring. But with all said and done, the cool announcements are still cool. And, Expedition 33, congratulations to them for just like sweeping at the Game Awards. It reminds me of like how
there were a few of the games that of the things they won that I feel like should have gone to something else. Maybe they need to categorize things differently, or I don't know. But I feel like the way that they swept so hard, obviously, what an achievement for Expedition 33 and for, I forget what their studio name is. But that was actually like really quite an achievement for them to have accomplished. And really cool, but I'm a little bummed
Lord
out
of the
on
Rings
that.
swept at the Oscars and won like 11 Academy Awards. Big shout out to Flute Guy. In my opinion, he won the Game Awards. That guy rocked out with like 5 different flutes, just like quick changing between them. It was wild. That dude, I want to be
Flute
like him.
crushed.
He's who I aspire to be like. I'd love to hear what your thoughts and opinions are on the Game Awards overall, what you thought of the show, what you thought of Highguard as the big finale reveal, what you think of Highguard just as a game, just based on the trailer alone, and what you think about all the award winners, and what was your favorite announcement from the Game Awards. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on YongYea. I'll see you guys next time.
So go ahead and give him a like.
YongYea.
Hit him with a subscribe as well. That was actually pretty good. He actually he did convince me. I thought that Highguard was actually a really, I'm hyped for it. But the way that he did it, kind of changed my mind a little bit. Let me just go ahead and